Let's begin lying down on the backs, but only for some breathing. So just lying down, grab everything that keeps you comfortable. If you need a bolster under the knees or cushioning, of course, if you would like a blanket for the time. I just love to work with a little bit of breathing, and I think to begin with reclined position might be nice for that. So while you are getting comfortable, you could choose to close the eyes, but not essential. If the closing of the eyes just makes you tired or it's not working for you for whatever reason, of course, can you keep your eyes open? So while you make your way there or into a more comfortable state, I suggest that today, as always, you go with the flow. You acknowledge that your body is maybe different to yesterday or whenever you last came to practice. And just allowing a moment to appreciate the body, even if it shows up with signs of tension, or it's just not the way you would love it to be, still just accepting as it is for now. Noticing that we show up differently each time, each day really. And that our bodies even feel different when we compare morning to evening or during the day. Please do acknowledge as well that is traveling with you at the moment, be that an emotional state or thoughts. I invite you to open up in today's practice, as my choice is to encourage openness and acceptance. That's so much easier said than done. We've got a whole hour to play with it. This idea is accompanied by the butterfly, a symbol for change. As today's card deck surprisingly was the art of yoga, which is a card deck that's not very spiritual. But it contains a pose on each card, and today's card is the butterfly. It's my topic for this term with the children as well, as they have trouble adapting to change. So do we. And when we're playing around with openness and acceptance, isn't that about change as well? We change over the course of our lifetime, and the butterfly does dramatically change in the course of the lifetime. Hence, to accept this moment as it is so important. I invite you to maybe keep that in mind as the breath is changing too. Let's start to deepen the inhalation and the exhalation at first. So both in and out breaths beginning to deepen, and if that is possible, you can change it to full yogic breaths, moving breath from belly to ribs to collarbones each time you're breathing in and out. So deep for breathing, Ujjayi is also encouraged if you're familiar with it. So light constriction in the back of the throat, creating a hissing sound or oceanic sound. Noticing that maybe at first, as you deepen the breath and bring a particular rhythm to it, the mind is quite busy. Things go into the background. One of the tools that you have in your own hands every single day, just changing your breath. I invite you to deepen this change as you breathe in fully and then pause and hold the breath within your body. Then exhaling in the pattern, belly, ribs to collarbones, nice and slowly. And then holding the breath in the body again, or out of the body, I shall say. You're inhaling from here. Holding the breath within the body. Exhaling. Holding the breath out of the body. Inhaling again. So finding your own pattern now as the idea becomes clearer. You're breathing in fully. You're containing the breath within the body. You're exhaling completely. And then you're holding the breath outside of the body. Now, while you're holding the breath, if you can allow the pelvic floor muscles to switch on, maybe a little bit more, as we call that Mula Bandha. So not sure what that means. Lower belly drawing into the tailbone will switch all of that on. And at the same time, maybe just lightly bringing your chin down towards the throat. Not much as you're reclined. But then when you're either breathing in or out again, releasing these locks or bandhas. So we're playing a little bit with Mula and Jalandhara Bandha. As you inhale or exhale, these bandhas are loose, relaxed. When you're breathing out as well, of course. But when you're holding, you're switching on Mula Bandha, that's the lower part of the body. Lightly Jalandhara Bandha, that's your chin lock. And then you're breathing again out or in, and you're holding once more. Now, I would encourage you to breathe in fully, hold the breath if possible, maybe even for a count of 4 within the body. Then exhaling completely. And when you're holding after the exhalation, you can hold as long as you like, but I suggest a little bit shorter than you held after the in-breath. Maybe a count of 2 or 3. And then inhaling again. You might, especially if your feet are resting on the ground, experiencing when you're switching on Mula Bandha, a slight tilt of the pelvis, which is perfectly fine. And a slight extension into the whole back line as the chin comes in as well. So play around with that. Inhaling, hold, exhaling, hold again. And then breathing in. Go for a few more rounds in your pace. Two more breaths. Once you have completed the 2 breaths, and your legs are out long, I'd ask you to step the feet down onto the ground. And then starting to just let the knees roll slightly to one side and your head to the other. Centering both. Movement doesn't have to be far quite yet. And then rolling the knees to the opposite, the head to the opposite side. Arms, tendency to be open, wide, palms facing upwards. So we're creating a bit of openness already. A gesture of acceptance with the hands open, the arms wide, and just keep rolling from side to side. You might choose to take a different stance in between, only if that feels about right for yourself. So stance can change from wide to narrow, or the other way around. Just keep rolling. Maybe the movement becomes a bit bigger too as you're going about. I will ask you to come into balance with this movement and then to roll all the way over onto your left-hand side. To take one deep breath here. And once you've completed that breath, to push yourself up into a seated position. You may support yourself in that seat, such as by a block, maybe placing that underneath you. Thick cushion will do as well. Maybe have a couple of books ready. So once you come up to sit, let's take a deep breath in, reaching the arms out and up, and then placing your fingertips on your shoulders. I will ask you to just bring the elbows forward. If they touch, that's perfectly fine. Then draw them down. You can move your back here as well. Take a breath in as the elbows lifting. And then a breath out as you come forward. So allow the back to move with you. Deep full breaths as we practiced, just without the holding this time. That's our last one. When your elbows are touching again at the front, we will quickly change the cross of the legs. Take your time. If you need help with your hands, that's okay. And then let's swap that around. Lifting the elbows, opening the arms, and then breathing out as you bring them down and forward. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhaling, back, down, forward. Inhaling, lift, open, and exhale, bring them down, forward. So I know that movement is quite strong potentially. See where it takes you. Allow the back to move. One more time. Then releasing your hands onto your knees. Now let's start a little bit of circling around. To me, this circling isn't quite working on the block. See how you are going, maybe removing that from underneath. Just a circling around. You might have found your perfect direction as I didn't ask you in which to move. I invite you then to pause though. If you need your block back underneath, please place it there. We're going into a twisty movement. For that, I will quickly come up to the camera because I would love to use a mudra to do so. So for that, touching your thumb to your ring finger and then wrapping the middle finger over your index finger. That's the tricky part. So it is the thumb and the ring finger, and then the middle finger wrapping over the index finger. That's a mudra that's set to work best for twisting. So while you have your mudra, check out which leg is in front, and then gently turn in that direction. Placing the back of your hand either against the knee that's closer to you or straight to the opposite side. Now, as you're inhaling, turn a little bit out of this twist, as if you were relaxing or releasing it. And when you're breathing out, go in a bit deeper. Keep your mudra as you inhale, release slightly, and as you're exhaling, coming deeper. So I'd invite you to keep the mudra and the movement going. If you like this movement small, keep it small. If you like it big, have it big. This is a little warm up for our spine. As we are adapting, accepting the circumstances in ourselves and around us, there's like twists and turns on our path in life, wherever we're going. So if possible, holding the next one in the twist. Still keep the mudra here to help us maintain our position. If you like, you can tilt the back ear to the back shoulder. And if you would like a further stretch into the neck, just slightly turning the head to look upwards into the top corner of your space. We're releasing the head gently, the posture gently, and even the mudra. We will lean a little bit back this time. Hopefully you're not sitting on something, maybe lifting the feet up for just squeezing a little boat in between. And we're using this boat only to change sides. So we've got the opposite leg in front. Take your hands back onto your knees, maybe close the eyes. And start circling again. Now you're circling in the same direction as before. Let's change that. So just allowing yourself to figure out what your preference is and then going in the opposite direction. Have a few circles. And then once you completed your next one, we will pause again. We now know which leg is in front. We're touching back together, the index and the thumb and the ring finger, and wrapping the middle finger over the top. Relax your arms as you turn either to the closer knee or to the one on the opposite side. And then start the same again. As you breathe in, relax. And when you're breathing out, twisting. Inhaling, soften. Exhaling, twist. And keep going in and out of the twist. Small movement or a big movement. Your choice. Notice, however, if you're turning in and out of the twist, it's mainly done by the neck. So you're just changing your gaze point. Or whether that actually works for the whole spine. Next time you enter into the twist, maintain it. Allow yourself to hold the twist. The mudra, And then if you like, dropping the back ear towards the back shoulder. And if you would like to increase the stretch in the neck or change it slightly, maybe turning your gaze to the other top corner of your space. And then release it all. Release your hands, release the position. And bring your feet around so we can come onto all fours. We will keep all fours very simple to begin with. Knees at hip distance apart, hands at shoulder distance, and the wrists just a tiny bit forward from underneath the shoulders. Feeling how that unstacking of the joints in your arms actually helps you to feel a little bit more free in the back. When I place them underneath, I feel a lot more static. With the hands just that fraction further forward, my spine feels a bit more loose. So I do need to slightly engage my core muscles to stabilize here. Maybe you're experiencing something similar. While you're breathing in now, let's soften the elbows, lift the tail and your gaze. And then breathe out of your mouth as you're rounding deeply into the back. Let's inhale, lift to open. And a breath out of the mouth to round into the cat. Keep going like this, breathing in and breathing out. Now, if you like, at the end of the out breath, can you hold? We're automatically almost switching on the bandhas when we're going into the cat. So after the exhalation, you might actively work on the pelvic floor and the chin tuck, but don't hold for too long and breathe into the softness of the elbows again, opening the front. And when exhaling, there's that option of briefly engaging through the bandhas and holding. Go for another 3 in this way, just moving through the spine and using your breath. When you have completed your 3, you will stay on all fours, but we will lift the right leg back. So on the in-breath, lengthening, maybe lifting. And while you're breathing out and you're rounding your back, bringing your foot forward. Please help the foot forward if you need to. Even wiggle the foot a bit further forward if that feels right to lean a little bit into this lunge. If you prefer the support of your hands on the ground, just to stretch into the hips, please keep them there. Or otherwise, you might choose to lift your arms up and bring the elbows to a bend. You can stay standing on foot and knee or lunge a little bit forward depending how the knee is feeling. I will ask you to come back to our twisty mudra as you touch your index and do it again, the thumb and the ring finger together, and wrap your middle finger over your index finger. So we're holding this in a cactus arm position, and then keep grounded. As you inhale, turn towards the open side, and when you're exhaling, turn towards the side where your knee is at a bend. We're inhaling to open, and exhaling to twist towards the knee. Do that a couple more times, or rather 3 times again. When we come to the last round, holding in the twist, and that's a good time to release the arms, as you might place the back of the hand against the outside of your knee. But move your knee and the back of the hand a little bit against each other. The other arm with the mudra could lightly wrap behind your back. Keep your gaze across to the side. And either you're feeling just perfectly fine here, or you're starting to lean a little bit further down and forward. But if you choose the leaning forward, you could also rest on the forearm, of course. You will slide the arm down the outside of the knee maybe, and keeping the shoulder back so we're maintaining the twist or the depth of it. Let's release our hands, bring them back down to the mat, slide the foot back and have a stretch back into an extended child's pose. As you take a breath in now, roll the spine forward. Find a kneeling plank. Engage your tailbone down towards the backs of your knees. So we're switching on and we're keeping a straight line in that kneeling plank. And then let your elbows brush along the side rib cage as you lower down onto the floor. I will encourage you to take your hands out wide and come to the fingertips, pressing the tops of the feet into the ground so the knees might lightly lift. A wide arm or striking cobra as you take a breath in, lift through the head, the heart. Now let the shoulders soften. Rather stay a little bit lower, elbows soft too. And when you're next exhaling, let your right shoulder drop down towards the center and look over your left. Inhale, come into the middle, and then the left shoulder down as you're looking over your right. Inhale, come back. Exhale, release to the mat. Slide the hands by your sides. Push back up and find your all four stands again. Now, maybe you need to step the knees in, the hands back forward, minding the distance between hands and knees. And then we will go for just 3 rounds of cat and cow as you soften the elbows, lifting tail and gaze. If you like, you can have a brief hold of the breath, switching the bandhas on after the exhalation. But as you inhale, soften again, open the front body. And exhaling to round, maybe a brief hold. Inhaling to open. And exhaling to round again. Come into a more neutral spine. And lift your left leg up. Lifting maybe through the gaze too. And as you're exhaling now, bring the knee forward. Help it there. And again, you can wiggle the foot further forward. You could choose to lean a little bit towards the front. Lots of different options to find a deeper lunge. Once you've done so, lifting maybe the upper body, bringing the arms back out into cactus arms, and either staying centered over feet and knee or lunging lightly forward. Thumb to ring finger, middle finger over index finger, shoulders and elbows soft. It is 5 rounds or breath. As you inhale to turn to the open side, while you're exhaling to go into a twist. Inhaling, open. Exhaling, twist. Keep going, 3 more. We'll hold again after the 3rd round. Your choice to go deeper by placing the back of the hand through the outside of your knee. The other arm comes down behind you and maybe wraps behind the back. Resting the arm down there is fine too, while maintaining your mudras. You can choose, of course, to stay here, or either rest to the forearm or slide the arm down the outside of the knee. Keep a light pressure of knee, hand or arm against each other. Keep your shoulder back. And we will release the hands down onto the mat, stepping or sliding the foot back. Come once more forward directly into a kneeling plank. Tailbone, pull that down towards the backs of your knees. Nice way of switching your core on. Keep your elbows close and then lower down onto the mat. Hands go wide again. We're repeating our striking cobra. As you breathe in, wave up as much as feels all right for you. Still strengthening, but not straining. Let shoulders and elbows be relaxed, tops of the feet grounded. We start with the left shoulder this time. As you exhale, bring that to the center. Look over your right. Inhale, come back. And right shoulder down, looking over the left. Inhale, find your center. Exhaling as you lean forward. Place the hands by the sides of your ribcage. Push into the mat. I recommend now to tuck the toes under as you stretch back towards the heels. Let us walk the hands in towards the knees. Roll over and down to sit. Just to add one of those butterfly poses, we will touch the soles of the feet together, interlacing the hands around the toes. Now I'm shuffling here because I'm actually getting closer to my feet. There's an easier way you can pull the feet in a bit closer towards you. Now while you're holding onto your toes, let's see if you can sit up nice and tall. And then let's flap the wings a bit slower at first. You might inhale as you're lifting the knees and you might exhale as you lower them. If you feel it's beneficial to let go of the breath and to move your wings a bit faster, you could do so too. This is really up to you. See how it goes. Sometimes that feels good. Other times a slower movement is more beneficial. We will take this a bit deeper in a moment. As I invite you to pause the flapping and to lean a little bit forward. Now I find it easier to sway a bit from side to side to come forward here, so that's an option. And maybe placing then your elbows against the legs, however high those legs might be. You can close the eyes if you like and look down or look down towards your toes. And while you maintain that now, take a breath in, push your elbows into your legs and push your legs up into your elbows. And then have a breath out as you release the tension and maybe your knees opening a bit further. Let's breathe in, push down and up. And exhale to release the knees a bit further. One more time. Breathe in, hold the tension, and breathe out to release it. Allow yourself just for a couple of breaths to drop into the pose, to let the upper body relax downwards. Then curl up through your back, lifting your knees. Swing them over to the side and come into a standing forward bend. If you have trouble reaching the floor, a block might be nice underneath your fingers or hands. As I ask you to bend one knee, lift the heel on that side and then change sides. So you're starting to walk out your legs. Once you've done so for a little while, you might want to remove the block and soften the whole upper body down. Now let's swing the arms and brush the fingertips along the floor. Holding that on your right hand side, right outside of the leg. As you're inhaling, slide your hands up the outside of your leg and just lengthen into a half lift, turning sideways. On your out-breath, release it down. Swing the hands across to the other side. And when you're inhaling next, slide the hands up your left side and hold in a half lift here. Extending over to the side, a long spine but a twist in the body. And then releasing back down and forward. Engage lightly into your pelvic floor and begin to curl up into standing. I will ask you to open up just a touch bit further, as I will ask you to step your feet a bit apart and turn the toes lightly outwards. We will take a deep breath in to lift the arms up, extending the body. And as you're breathing out, bend your knees and place your hands on top of the thighs. If the toes turned outwards here doesn't suit you, you can turn the feet forward. Now, wide-legged standing cat-cow pose. As you inhale, lift your tail and gaze. And when you're exhaling, press down into the thighs and round your back. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, round. Going for 3 more. Just doing that, moving through your spine. Once you've completed your rounds, bring your back into neutral again. Inhaling here. And as you're exhaling now, let's drop the right shoulder towards the center and look over your left. Watch that your legs are still in the same position, not twisting with you. Return into center and left shoulder drops down as you start to turn to the right. Now inhale, find your center and continue, just twisting. Think about when one shoulder lowers, how the other can encourage backwards and up. Just once more to each side. When you then come back into center, heel and toe your feet even wider apart. Let your hands slide down your legs. If you can catch your big toes, you might, or you can hold onto the outside of your legs. Shifting the weight a bit forward into this stretch. Lift the shoulders lightly back into their sockets. And then as you're breathing out, your elbows might open sideways. You can choose, if your neck is extremely happy, to stay looking down towards the ground, or you can relax the head and look back behind you which usually is my preference. Bringing a bit of length into the neck as well. If you're holding onto your big toes, you can pull on the big toes lightly. Two more breaths. Before releasing your hands, to place them underneath your shoulders. Come to your fingertips and lift up halfway. I will ask you to place your right hand or fingertips in the center. Keep grounding through both of your feet and take a breath in to lift the left arm. If it felt good in any previous twist, you can wrap this arm behind your back. Now a bit of extra openness into the hip. If you would like to turn your right foot, you can, and then sinking down towards the right side. I will encourage you to keep the left foot grounded and even bring the outer edge of the left foot a bit further into the ground. Then push yourself back up. Release the hand from behind. Turn your feet parallel and lengthen the spine once more. So back in the half lift, the left hand or fingertips go into the center. And as you take a breath in, the right arm is lifting. Now again, your choice to wrap this arm behind your back, maintaining the twist. If you like, the right toes can turn a bit out so the knee can bend in alignment with the toes as you sink. Oh, sorry, that's the left side. As you sink towards the left. Grounding maybe through the outer edge of the right foot. So we're simply doing the opposite side here. As we begin to straighten the legs again, the hands are coming down. We will heel and toe the feet in and bring them closer. Keep your knees soft. Again, engage your lower belly and exhale to roll up slowly. Lift your shoulders for a moment. Soften the elbows. Roll them down and try and land with soft knees in a standing pose. So it takes a moment now to get the energy from the head down into the feet. You can steady your gaze for that or close the eyes. And I'd ask you to activate down into the feet and into the legs, into the buttocks muscles. Take a deep breath in. Have a sigh out. And then when you come to stand and open the eyes, I will give you plenty of options here so you can play around depending on where your balance is at. I'd ask you to maybe just come onto your right toes as you bend the knee. This could be your help. Unless you want the full balance, then lifting the right knee. Bring your hands back into cactus arms. Maybe going back to the twisting mudra, thumb to ring finger, middle finger over the index fingers. As you inhale, try and turn towards the open side. As you exhale, try and turn towards the closed side. Holding here, and maybe taking the back of your hand against the front knee. Maybe extending the other arm back for better balance. Keeping the mudra if you like. Unless you feel like extending this, then only keep the mudra at the back hand and reach for the outer edge of the front foot, from where you could try to extend the leg forward. Remember, this is an option. Knee bend is good. Let's release by bending knee Lifting the arms, straightening out the body, land the foot down and let it go. Hopefully now the energy sits way more in the stability point that is the feet. As we will change sides. So your choice is again, just to bend the left knee and maybe keep the toes on the ground or lower them there if needed. Or you can lift the left knee up. Bringing your arms back into cactus arm position. Thumb to ring finger, middle over index fingers. Let's inhale and turn towards the open side. And exhale, turn towards the knee. You can hold here or place the back of the hand with the mudra against the knee and extend the other arm back behind you. The gaze might change here as well. At least keeping the mudra here at the back and the arm extended. If you want to take it deeper on this side here, you can reach for the outer edge of the foot and maybe work on extending the leg forward. Then bring a bend back into the knee. Lift your arms, release the mudras. Step the foot down and let it go. Give the arms a bit of a shake. Maybe have a little walk forwards and backwards. We'll find our way down onto the backs now. If you have a blanket somewhere, I know mine isn't ideal because it's fluffy and very big. But I will still use it for now. I would love you to have a blanket if possible. If you have a thin cushion instead, you could potentially use that too, but only if it's wide enough. This is not essential, but if you have that item near you, I recommend to use it. So for that, we will also need our block or replacement of the block. I will ask you to sit down in front of your blanket or whatever you're using here. You could also just fold up the mat a few times and be on the floor if that's not too hard or cold. So if there's carpet, that'll do as well. I would love you to align the shoulders now over the edge of the blanket, and so the head is lying there loose. Now my blanket is that little bit too big. I just chuffed that out from underneath the buttocks. So, but the shoulders are resting on the blanket. You've got a block in reach. Your feet are stepped onto the ground. Your arms are relaxed and we will open them out. So unlike our usual bridge pose, this will be slightly different. So stepping the feet in a bit towards you, but maintaining hip distance between them. So set arms are open, shoulders supported on the blanket. While you take a breath in, tilting the pelvis. Squeeze your buttocks. As you breathe out, lifting the hips just a little bit up. So neck should be completely free as you've got a slight elevation in your shoulders. Take this block either flat or at a maximum halfway up. So your choice to take it this far and rest it directly underneath the sacrum. Keep your arms open and the shoulders on your blanket, so the neck doesn't bear any weight and you could turn the head. Your feet aren't doing much at the moment, but please keep them grounded to the floor. So while the back is getting used to this extension, we will in a moment remove the block from underneath, and I will ask you to hold the height that you've established with the block, whether that's flat or halfway up. So let's squeeze the buttocks, lifting just very lightly off the block. Take that out from underneath, hold in exactly this height, and begin to draw your tail to the backs of your knees and just holding here. Noticing that there's still quite little weight in the feet if we're fully engaging through the muscles to hold us up here. If possible, stay for a little bit longer, a few more breaths. And then very slowly rolling your spine down. Try one vertebra at a time. Releasing your back onto the support underneath. Now, if this cushioning isn't too uncomfortable for you, keep the blanket underneath. Take your knees up and squeeze them towards your shoulders. Your head might be tilting slightly backwards. You can either now take a hold of the backs of your thighs for a happy baby pose, or you can take a hold, arms on the inside of your knees, the outer edges of your feet. Once you've reached your happy baby variation, make sure that the head isn't falling backwards anymore. So maybe a light chin tuck here. Drawing your knees down towards your shoulders or the outside of them. Tailbone is lifted off the ground, don't worry. Allow yourself to stay here for a few more breaths. Bring further openness into the hips while we're lightly inverting. This posture is quite a nice one to do every now and then when you've got time. We will release the pose by bringing the feet together, letting go of the legs, bringing the feet to the ground, and just for a moment encouraging the openness of the butterfly as you touch the soles of the feet together. Let your knees fall open. Not yours, you can change that position. You might choose for a moment to rest one hand to your heart and one to your tummy. Encouraging a deep, full breath in, locking the air into the body. Full, slow breath out. Blocking the air out of the body. 2 more, like the breaths we had at the beginning, inhaling deeply. Hold the air in the body. Exhaling fully. And a shorter pause at the end of the exhalation. Repeating that once more in your time, your pace of breathing. And then extending yourself into Shavasana, whether that means that you're lifting the knees up or that you're sliding your legs out long. Your choice. Finding a resting position. Allow the arms to fall away. Reconnecting to what's happening inside. Feeling particularly into your back. as hopefully we increased the movement of the back while also providing an openness. The breath becoming soft and subtle. If you like, you could even visualize yourself here as the butterfly that evolved through the practice and is coming into its full beauty. The arms by your sides or out by your sides, your wings. You could even visualize the pattern and the color of your wings. Take a deep, full breath in very, very slowly. And allow a soft, slow sigh out. Before only moving enough to find yourself in a seated position. We will complete with a short meditation for openness and acceptance. To go into that, we're using a position of the hands that looks like a bowl. So I'd ask you to cup your hands lightly, tuck the thumb in by the side of the hand, and maybe bring your fingertips to touch here at the front. You can rest this down into your lap, but keeping the bowl-like hands. Fingertips of opposite hands can touch together. Keep the length in the spine. If you prefer to sit on something, you can do that. And ideally, you would close the eyes or just have them a tiny bit open so you can look to a spot that's down in front of you. While you are maintaining this bowl-like hand position, Pushpaputta Mudra. And ask you to just feel into it. We cannot avoid that we sometimes have negative thoughts. But what we can do is sit down and take time to acknowledge that that is, maybe even while we're moving the mat. And to open ourselves up to the possibilities while accepting that that is. See your two hands like open flowers. Imagine another flower on top of your hands. While inhaling, golden rays come from a cosmos that embodies love, warmth, joy, and peace. Through the open flowers, they flow into your innermost self. And let ourselves be filled. Maybe take a pause in your breath for a moment and radiate this wealth through your heart into the world while exhaling. So you're drawing in the golden rays of love, warmth, joy, and peace, holding that in your innermost self as the flower opens. Allow yourself to be filled in the pause, and then bring the wealth through your heart into the world as you're exhaling. Staying with these thoughts, the breaths, the mudra. Let that go after your next exhalation. Relax the hands where they feel comfortable. And lightly bring the hands to touch at heart center. We've drawn in an abundance of love and warmth. As we lightly bow, we're sharing that with each other. Namaste.